Hello and welcome everyone to Ukrainian Blockchain Hub. I am Maria Vovchok, and today I'm glad to have as a guest here Jimmy Son, whom you know as Bitcoin educator, developer, and entrepreneur. So Jimmy, hi, how are you?
I am good. Glad to be with you on this wonderful video podcast
Thank you.
thing.
Have you ever been to Kiev?
I have not. I have not. I hear it's awesome though from Tone, who goes there all the time.
Yeah, he's here all the time, and the last time we had an interview with him. And I will have some questions for you as well about him, about your show, but later. Uh, the first question is why I asked you for an interview. It's you're one of the co-writers of the Little Bitcoin book, which has been recently published and released. Is it correct that it has been written for a couple of days? And how did the idea come up?
Yeah, so we wrote it in 4 days. We met in Redwood City, California. 8 different authors from 5 different continents, and we all got together in a nice house, and we slept. Everyone slept there. Everyone ate there. Everyone wrote there, and we basically just got it done. The idea for the book came about a year ago. So I have another book out, Programming Bitcoin, that I published with O'Reilly, and that book took 14 months. And that's obviously a very long time. And I noticed as an author that it was really hard to get myself to write, like sit down and just type something out. It was dreadful. It sucked. So,
but the previous one was more for developers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. This one, is it for newbies or?
So when in the process of writing, I talked to some other authors, and they were telling me about this idea of a book sprint, which is essentially getting a book out in a very short amount of time, and that's where I got the idea. And I was trying to do it with another project that I had in mind, but couldn't quite pull it all together and get everybody in the same room. That tends to be the hard part. So when I met Alex at South by Southwest earlier this year, that's in March, and it's a big conference here in Austin, he pitched me on a book that he and Alex Lloyd were doing. And I pitched them on the idea of doing it as a book sprint and getting a bunch of people and doing it that way. And miraculously, we all came together first week of August. So we literally wrote it a month ago. And did it over 4 days, and uploaded it to Amazon at the end of the 4 days. So it was an incredible experience. Really enjoyed it. But yeah, the book is geared towards newbies and people that don't really know Bitcoin that well, and it's to help them understand why it matters.
So everybody who's watching our show is willing to find out about Bitcoin, but probably just heard about it. I think you should find on Amazon the Little Bitcoin book. One of the co-writers is Jimmy Son, so please have a look. Jimmy, you have been recently to Bitcoin Is conference in LA, if I'm not mistaken. How did it go? How is the community at LA is perceiving Bitcoin, and is it fond of different Bitcoin conferences and blockchain conferences?
Yeah, so this one was particularly interesting because Russell Kung was the host of the Bitcoin Is conference, and Russell Kung is a left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. And there were other athletes in attendance. So it was much more of a general crowd, and rather than maybe like the people that I see all the time on the Bitcoin circuit. So it was a really interesting conference. Yeah, there was a lot of enthusiasm in the room, a lot of people that maybe aren't necessarily exposed to Bitcoin that we got to talk to about Bitcoin. Russell's a fantastic guy, love the guy. His team did a really good job in pulling this together. I think they went from conception to execution in like 35 days, which is around like the same level of hurriedness that we did the book. So it was a lot of fun. 1-day conference. It was in LA. It was a lot of talk about why Bitcoin matters and so on, which was why me and Alex Gladstein, who's a co-author, he was also there, So it was fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Recently, San Francisco-based crypto exchange OKCoin has pledged to donate 1,000 Bitcoin into a community voting-based development fund for the Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV projects. You tweeted that all the money from OKCoin will go towards scholarships for your seminar. If you have an account, please vote for BTC, of course. Is it an act of charity for developers or what?
Yeah, so I've had scholarships for my seminar for a long time now. And I think we've trained over 50 developers just using scholarships. I've taught over 500 total. But a lot of them have gone on to do some wonderful things. And especially because we've targeted women and minorities and things like that.
Women?
Yeah. So one of the scholarship winners now works at Blockstream, Lisa Nagud. She's a prominent Lightning developer now.
Oh, is it only for developers, or is it also for blockchain journalists as well?
It's for developers. It's essentially teaching them all of the all of the protocol layer stuff behind Bitcoin. So I
cannot participate if I
if you know Python, I could teach you. So a lot of these women.
Think about it.
Yeah, you should. You definitely should.
Would your classes be free, or on the contrary as well? I would have to pay for the classes, and after that participate.
Well, if there's a scholarship, then it's merit based, and we would have sort of a coding problem to see who's deserving and so on. And we've had a lot of people go through the program and like contribute, like Lisa and some other people. I think I have another scholarship winner that ended up going to Lightning Labs, another one that ended up going to BitGo, another one that's part of the San Francisco Blockchain Consortium and stuff like that. So I have a lot of people that have taken this class, and the scholarships have definitely gone towards people that otherwise maybe wouldn't be in Bitcoin. So that would be the idea, is whatever money I get from that, I would totally put towards scholarships so that more people can attend my seminar that maybe wouldn't otherwise. So yeah, that would be the idea.
Okay, thank you. You're like a very frequent guest on Ton Vase's show, and recently, of course, you also been spoken to him about many topics. One of the topic which caught my attention was about Zcash Foundation going broke. And Tom was rather harsh and critical on Zcash. He claimed that Bitcoin became innovative, and after that, every single person that has come across a line of encryption code has decided to monetize it. You are more cautious about it. I would like to know still, which cryptocurrencies apart from Bitcoin does Jimmy Sun recognize as valuable assets apart from Bitcoin, and which projects, on your opinion, offer valuable solutions? Or do you, in this case, are of the same opinion as Ton Vase?
Yeah, I think Tone and I are pretty much in alignment. I mean, Bitcoin is the only decentralized digital currency. Everything else is in some way, shape, or form centralized. And if you don't have self-sovereignty over your own money, then it's no longer interesting. It's the same as the US dollar or the euro or something like that. It's if it's centrally controlled, then it's not really yours, and they can inflate it away from you or take it away from you in other ways. So for me, the only valuable asset out there is Bitcoin. Now, that's not to say that what these other guys are doing have zero value. I think researching ZK snarks is important. I think trying out confidential transactions and bulletproofs and things like that on Monero are important. I think even some of the stuff that they're doing on Decred with trying out voting on the blockchain and things like that to see how they work. Those are all interesting in of themselves, but they're all centralized. And as assets, I think everything accumulates to the thing that's actually decentralized, allows you to have self-sovereignty and so on. So for me, that's why I think Bitcoin's the one coin that's worth something.
One and only. Do you think that all the projects eventually will as well go broke?
It's a good question. I mean, the thing about these blockchains is you can essentially they essentially last forever, and a lot of them have like zombie-like existences where they'll quote unquote die and then come back to life and then die again and come back to life. So I mean, Namecoin hasn't done and like hasn't had any development in many years, and then somebody picked it up, and then like they had a little bit of development here and there. Um, Things like that happen to each of these currencies, and like there's some where you can't even find the blockchain, but they're still somehow traded on exchanges and stuff like that. So it's hard to define death for a cryptocurrency, and as a result, it's hard to know when they actually go away. As far as I'm concerned, they're not really worth holding or using for store of value, which is the killer use case for me.
Or investing, yeah? Because one of the questions which I wanted to ask you, which commodity do you, as an entrepreneur, would actually say it's worth investing in apart from Bitcoin?
Yeah, so investment is an interesting word. So prior to the fiat money era that we've been in, I think since, at least in the US, since the Fed in 1917, investment wasn't really a thing. Everyone just kept their money in gold, right? Like they just held gold. I mean, there was obviously investment for sort of speculative reasons and so on. But most people did not have to have like a really diverse portfolio or go into real estate or whatever. These are things that people think of as investments. When you're saying investment, really what you're talking about is something that will store value across time. Because we all know that our money is being devalued constantly by our governments. And like the inflation rates that you hear, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever, those are heavily manipulated. They're consumer price indexes or something like that based on quality of goods and so on. If you look at the actual traditional definition of inflation, which is the monetary base expanding, even in the US, it's something more like 6.7%, which is an insanely large number. And over the past 60 years, the monetary base of the US dollar has expanded by 50 times, right? Like there's 50 times more dollars now than there was in 1959, which is insane. And a lot of these other assets that you call investments or whatever, like stocks and real estate and so on, if you're getting 6.7% out of those, that's considered insanely good, right? Like every fund manager in Wall Street, if they can get 7%, that's considered a very successful fund. Really, you're running to stand still. It's not really an investment per se. It's trying to store value that everyone is doing. So when you have something like Bitcoin, which actually stores value very well because of the fixed supply and so on, now you have something that you don't need all of this other machinery. You don't need financial advisors. You don't need entire industries like foreign exchange and like a lot of these things, like, stocks have some sort of utility value. You're supposed to get dividends out of it. Real estate has utility value. You can get rent out of it and so on. But they also have a giant premium right now because there are just so few places to store value. And what Bitcoin brings is this ability to store value that's fair, that doesn't require insider information, that's completely fungible and so on. That's available to everyone, and I can't think of something that is more fair and just than a store of value that's like that. And instead of needing access to a venture capital fund and getting in on like a hot new startup or something like that.
You tweeted a lot about what should be happening in a sound money economy, quote, as you mentioned before. Now the question for you as entrepreneur, because still talking about the fiat money system, we may expect in the nearest future a financial crisis. There were like different rumors when may it happen this year or next or in 2021, but still, if it happens and when it happens, I've heard like two different opinions, set of opinions. If it happens, then the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket because everybody who invested in fiat, as you mentioned, in stocks and etc., they would put all of their money into Bitcoin, and as the result, Bitcoin price will go up. But I heard also a completely different point of view that because of the financial crisis, the rate of unemployment will rise, and as the result, people will have to provide for their families, and they will have to cash out Bitcoin. So, what do you think? Which scenario may happen?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and I've heard both sides as well. So so it really depends on how much people actually value Bitcoin. If you
need cash, for example,
so what do you sell first, right? If it's really a store of value, then what you end up doing is you use everything else other than the store of value first before you sell the store of value, because that's the absolute last thing. That's your nest egg. That's your future, and so on. If on the other hand, it's sort of like something that you don't really know about or think that it might go down or whatever, then that might be the thing that you sell first. So it really depends on where it is in your hierarchy. And I can't claim to know the minds of everybody that owns Bitcoin. Certainly for me, it's way down at the very last thing that I would sell before I would, to provide for my family and so on. And you also have to think about the financial positions of everybody that already owns Bitcoin, because in order for the price to come down, there has to be sellers. Now, traders, they're very loose with their Bitcoin, so they'll let it go very easily. But if you are a hedge fund, you might let go of it, but you might also not. If you're a VC firm and you have some Bitcoin, I mean, like that might be the one thing that's getting you actually pretty good returns. So in order to answer your LPs, you might need to hold it and so on. It really depends on who owns it and how much they value it. And it will be sort of like a revealing event when there is a recession. But I have no predictions one way or the other, because I really don't know the mentalities of everyone that owns Bitcoin, and that's what you have to know in order to figure that out.
So do you think the price of Bitcoin will depend on the mentality of each and every person who owns Bitcoin in the future?
Yeah, essentially. And how much they believe in it. It's how much conviction they have in it. I mean, certainly the people that are like quote unquote Bitcoin maximalists, we all really believe in it, I think. I don't know, maybe
a lot of them in Ukraine as well.
Yeah. But if you're not, then maybe you do sell it first. I don't know. It really, this is information that we don't really have, and it's information that's very hard to get without a giant event like that. And in some ways, I kind of welcome that, because it does sort of expose the conviction that people have about it. And if you
believers in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, if it starts to rise, then everyone that owns Bitcoin ain't selling, and there are more people coming in because they see it as a safe haven. And that's the other part of the equation that we also don't know, which is that how do people that don't own Bitcoin perceive Bitcoin, or who already own Bitcoin, but do they see it as a safe haven, and do they really believe in it to accumulate more during a time of crisis? Those are really interesting questions, and this is where it's like hard to get into the prediction business, because a lot of times you have to know the mentality of everybody that's in the market, and it's not something that I really have the information to do. I mean, a lot of people say that they know as a way to manipulate the market, but it's not something that you can really know.
Okay, let's talk now about the current price of Bitcoin, because it has recovered pretty well from the lows, from the low hits late last year. But investor enthusiasm is for all these things, crypto and blockchain is not so high as it was expected like a few quarters ago. And also Ton, for example, he expressed his views that investors, institutionals, they're waiting the price of Bitcoin now to go down again, and they will go in. So what do you think now? Where do you see the price of Bitcoin going in the next few months?
Oh, I mean, short-term predictions are much more Tone's area. I do much more long-term predictions. It's hard to know where it'll go in the next 3 months. And this is something that I tell people about Bitcoin all the time is, and people ask me, hey, should I invest in Bitcoin? And I always tell them, well, if you're going to sell when it doubles or halves in 6 months, then don't bother. But if you're going to hold for 5 years, then yeah.
Okay, 5 years. Jimmy,
yeah,
how do you think how much Bitcoin price will be
in 5 years? Well, so the only pricing model that's ever really made sense that's like that has some fundamental basis is Plan B's stock flow model. And if you haven't read that article, fantastic article, you should go look up Plan B stock flow model Bitcoin. If you Google that, it'll be
I've seen it probably on Medium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the idea is that as the stock is larger than the new flow of Bitcoins coming in, that tends to be the driver of price, because there's a supply shock every 4 years when there's a halving and so on, and all of the prices, at least on a log scale, correlate pretty well to the halvings and so on. So we have a halving coming up in about 9 months, and that's going to be a significant event. And then we have another one 4 years from now. So 2 halvings from now, what's the price going to be? Well, according to that model, I think we're going to be in the $400,000 area. But I mean,
$400,000 in 5 years.
Yeah, that's the fair value model, I think. Well, I mean, I think in about 9 months, the fair value model, I think, puts it around $50,000, somewhere around there. And then 4 years from then you get another halving. So that I think takes it up almost order of magnitude, something like that. But it'll be a significant supply shock again. So,
but why, for example, are you sure that it will influence the price? Because as we've seen with the price of Litecoin, it actually didn't influence the price of the coin, the halving.
Yeah. So Litecoin has never had that same correlation with respect to the halving. So, I mean, they're a centralized shitcoin, right? Like, to be quite frank, it's if you're centralized,
invite Charlie Lee for a discussion.
If you're centralized, then you're not going to have the same properties as something that's decentralized. And they're basically a carbon clone of Bitcoin with a few changes, really just block times and what's the other one? They use a different proof of work algorithm, and their supply is 4 times as much, and so on. I mean, Bitcoin had sort of an immaculate conception, in the sense that you had a creator that basically left the project very early on, like 2010, and that means that there's no central authority in any way, shape, or form.
It's good because it's like it takes away the person who may be the central.
Yeah, the central authority, and that made it decentralized. No other coin can really say that. They either have a creator, a foundation, or they hard fork all the time, or something still around. Every single one of them. So they're not decentralized, and that means that you can't really apply stock flow models to something that's centralized, because there's always the prospect of the rules changing, and the supply becoming different, and so on. So you can't apply stock flow models to something like Litecoin, but you can to Bitcoin, because it's actually decentralized. And based on that, I think we'll see probably something in the next couple of years, get for Bitcoin to get closer to the fair market price after the halving. And then, 5 years from now, or maybe 6, 7 years from now, you'll see it get closer to that number as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the only one that makes sense to me. I'm not saying that that's going to happen or anything like that. I'm not a prophet, but
But there is high probability that it may happen.
Well, I like probabilities are really strange with respect to the future because we don't know all the variables.
As well. Yeah.
I mean, like we might have an alien invasion tomorrow and they might wipe everything out, right? Like we don't know what the probabilities of stuff like that are, and you can't say high probability or low probability on any of that. Given the assumptions that we have, and if you agree with the assumptions from that article, then I think then
Yes, and still there might be black swans like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, like an alien invasion, right? Like you don't know.
You
Like there's lots of interesting things that could happen. But given the assumptions from that article, I think the argument is pretty compelling.
Okay. Jimmy, thank you so much for this interview. I think in the future I will also would like to have you to express your opinions on different topics, different events which are happening in blockchain space. Today I was having Jimmy Son, Bitcoin educator, developer, and entrepreneur. I am Maria Vovchuk from Ukrainian Blockchain Hub. See you soon and goodbye.